Now to growing concerns about the deadly coronavirus officially hitting the U.S. Here's what we know. A Washington state resident fell ill after returning from Wuhan, China, where the outbreak began. Officials now say more than 400 people have been sickened and 9 people have died. The World Health Organization is holding an emergency meeting right now.
Man, this is enough. I'm tired of these motherfuckers lying to me every time I turn my TV on. I'm tired of them taking food out of my mouth and money out my pocket. Hey, yo. Y'all need to listen cause we under a dome. I suggest you keep a bunch of fucking guns in your home, cause they about to tell you not to walk the streets that you own. They wanna fucking lock us up inside a quarantine zone. Chemical warfare, call it the coronavirus. The epidemic ain't come from China, it's from inside us. They want a reason they can shoot us down for non-compliance. Martial law initiated by some fucking liars. Bill Gates funded studies on innocent people to see how humans would react to this kind of evil. Then they offer vaccines to people with needles, and if you ain't comply to government, they would delete you. I ain't living in a fucking dictatorship. I'm watching my country go to hell, and I fucking hate this shit. And if you with me and support what I'm saying, kid, to stand up. It's time to take the power back and raise a fist.
It's time to cut ties with these fucking guys who's feeding us nothing but lies. Time to uprise, rise up, time's up, cause when the trust dies, love dies, like government spies. Start the uprising. It's time to cut ties with these fucking guys who's feeding us nothing but lies. Time to uprise, rise up, time's up, cause when the trust dies, love dies, like government spies.
And let me also talk about the propaganda, deception, and how they took the television, yeah, they made it a weapon. Spewing false information out to you and your brethren. Coronavirus been around before 2011. Ain't it funny how it happens at elections? I don't know, I'm just saying there could be a connection. Every 4 years, brand new viral infections, and people wonder why their kids fucking suffer depression. I got a sense of fucking love to my show workers. Their kids and families losing meals for no purpose. No one appreciates service until it's no service, cause they don't see the fucking sharks just below the surface. Shit fucked up now, but you gon' see worse. The vaccine comes and everybody's yelling me first. All I'm urging you please is do your fucking research, cause we are long overdue for a fucking rebirth.
The uprising. It's time to cut ties with these fucking guys who's feeding us nothing but lies. Time to uprise, rise up, time's up, cause when the trust dies, love dies, like government spies. Start the uprising. It's time to cut ties with these fucking guys who's feeding us nothing but lies. Time to uprise, rise up, time's up, cause when the trust dies, love dies, like government spies.
Lucy says no pets, no dogs. Yeah, screw them. I'd like to give thanks to Vinny Paz for that track. Vinny was actually supposed to perform at Acapulco this year, but he had to cancel the last minute. I know him, a great guy, and great job by our video guys of putting graphics up for that track. Give a thumbs up down below if you like that. So you thought life was gonna be easy, did ya? I think so many people really just want an easy life. Just comfortable, easy. Well, I hate to break it to you, but that's not the way this all works, apparently. We're put here for whatever reason to learn mostly. And just being comfortable and having an easy life is not part of the equation. In fact, I don't think I really know anyone who's ever had that. Do you know anyone who's ever just had a totally perfectly comfortable, easy life? You might say things like, well, a lot of these celebrities seems like they do. In front of the cameras, they act like they do. Behind the cameras, whole different story. I lived 1 year in Hollywood. They're some of the most messed up people ever. And I think part of the reason we've gotten ourselves into this massive mess, which I'm going to get into, I don't even know where to start on all this stuff. There's so many things happening, is because so many people have just tried to live a comfortable, easy life. Just go along. Oh, there's a government there and they're taking some of your money. Okay. Oh, they're taking more now? Okay. Oh, they're making all these rules. You need permission to do anything now? Okay. A big part of the reason we got into this mess is too many people just wanted things to be too easy. And I don't know exactly what life is, but it does appear to be that we have both good and evil inside of all of us in various ways. And many of us have let sort of evil go for so long, just let it go, like not try to stop it or fight it or fix it, that we end up where we are today with the entire world in a total mess, going to get far worse unless people wake up almost immediately here. And you could say that everything they wrote about in the Bible was correct and it was from God and whatever it was. And there is a devil and there is God, and for whatever reason they're fighting all the time. That totally could be the case. But another way to say it is that we have all that inside of us, and when we, as a collective, I hate to use the word collective, but it's true, as people as a whole, as a good example is the Western society, has become very lost in its ways, almost completely materialistic, which is silly. I'm a minimalist myself. Nothing material means anything to me, really. Of course, I like a nice house and a nice bed, those sort of things, but as far as having material items, and of course it's been kind of pushed this way by a lot of people over the decades, and a lot of people are just living for pleasure. And in fact, a lot of people, most people, are actually living just to try to get the acceptance of others, which is totally wrong. I'd say most people are still living that way. Most of the things they do is just because they want to be accepted by others. They don't actually follow their own heart or follow their own passion. There would have been a lot more painters and musicians and all that kind of stuff, artists, but they were told they had to become a lawyer or a doctor or go to college and all this stuff. And I think because our society is so lost, that collectively we create, because everything in the world is connected. It is like a matrix. That's why when you have a ham radio, you could talk to someone 10,000 miles away, no problem. That stuff just goes out there, becomes part of the energy of this earth, and you can pick that up very easily. It's the same thing with your thoughts and your actions. And a big part of what's going on with this coronavirus pandemic is to get the entire world into a vibration of fear. Because in this vibration, many horrible things can be done without people even fighting it or realizing it's bad what they're doing. Because when you're in a fear state, you can't really think. You're just in a panic, and that's how they control so many things. So I think I'm going to get into what's going on today, which is crazy, just like every day, because humanity as a whole has gone crazy. It's lost its way. And you could define it in various ways. Every culture has a different way to define it. But that's mostly what's going on. And it's incredibly important. If you want to see a much better world, you have to start doing the work immediately. And that could be things like, well, first of all, of course, if your physical is bad, you have to get that fixed. Everything can be fixed naturally. Just do a fast and you'll be fine. Then the mental, that's a little harder. That's figuring out all the programming in your head. Most people, including myself up until recently, and I still am to a percent, but way less than before, are just kind of running on old programs that were put into them by society, the system, their parents, the school teachers, and they're still running on those programs. So you have to figure out how to get those out of your head. And then you can begin to try to connect with whatever it is, God, source, the universe. And everyone's got different angles on that. Whether it's Muslims or Jews or Christians, they all have different sort of ideologies. But in general, they're trying to do the same thing. And you have the sort of the hippie types that are trying to use crystals and all kinds of things like that to try to connect. What we need is a lot more of that in whatever form you can right now. If you want to see a decent world. And like, just take some time. If you haven't never done anything like this, go out somewhere like this, sit under a tree, connect to nature, and just breathe and ask, invite God, the universe, creator, whatever you want to call it, to guide you. Too many people have forgotten that, and that's why we're in the state we are today. And it's coming hard. Whether it's Satan and demons, it could be, or whether it's our own consciousness creating all this. We need, all of us, to get more into that. And what easier time is there to do it? Most people have lost their jobs, they're locked in their house, they're under martial law. What better time to start to do these things? And we need all the people. All those people who do Reiki and all that stuff. A lot of them are very sort of pacific, sort of peaceful, which is okay. But you need to get strong right now, very strong, and send that energy out into the world. We need everyone to do this. And if not, we're headed straight, as they say, to hell on earth. And I brought up this verse from the Bible the other day, and I kind of forgot how they worded it, but I'll read it out now because I thought it was interesting, because I read it a few times in the past and it meant nothing to me. And if you just read it kind of just straight without an understanding, it kind of sounds like God's an asshole who wants to like destroy everyone and kill everyone. But there's another way to look at it. So I'll read it right here. It's Matthew 10:34. Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household. What I take that to mean is that you can't just go through life and not fight for what's right and not connect with the divine, or whatever you want to call it. There's no just getting through this life and having a nice, easy, peaceful life. There needs to be a lot of fight or attention to working constantly, not constantly, but a lot on connecting to those things. And the Bible verse also kind of says that as people start to wake up, which is what the apocalypse is, the lifting of the veil, families will be torn apart. There'll be some who will totally get it, and they'll be working on the good stuff, and there'll be others who'll be completely oblivious to it, and it will tear apart families. But that's just the way it is. So if you're drinking too much right now, or watching Netflix all day, you're trying to avoid basically what's going on, You need to stop that immediately. Whether it's demonic forces or your own unconscious mind, when you weaken yourself like that and you become weak, you're open for attack. And so many people, unfortunately, are doing that now. And I've said this since the beginning of this whole pandemic, this misinformation, propaganda, tyranny exercise, that there'll be way, way more deaths from the results of the action of government than any so-called virus. Way more. And that's starting to come out more and more. Here's an article from USA Today called Deaths of Despair. Coronavirus pandemic could push suicide, drug deaths as high as 150,000, study says. And the article states, the federal mental health czar, gotta love czar. No one has a problem with them being called like Soviet tyrannical officials, is calling for more money to expand services to help people suffering amid the social isolation imposed by the coronavirus pandemic, as a new study estimates related deaths from alcohol, drug overdose, and suicide could reach 150,000. If anyone out there is feeling suicidal, you don't have to be. You have to start to connect, or you're going to be lost completely in this. And what is the government doing but making things worse and worse? All of the problems in the world today have not been caused by some virus. They've been caused by the reaction to the virus of governments worldwide. And Amanda and Larkin Rose explain this really well here. And if you don't know Larkin Rose yet, you got to know who he is. You got to read his book, The Most Dangerous Superstition.
So the media keeps lamenting how COVID-19 has caused economic devastation and other social problems, but that is a total lie. A virus didn't screw up everything, the government did.
And no doubt they're going to continue their dishonest spin of 30 million unemployed due to pandemic. Nope, not at all. The unemployment was entirely the result of government forcing idiotic solutions onto us, including the shutdowns and the stay-at-home orders and all manner of other stupidity.
It wasn't a virus that caused an avalanche of economic and social disasters. It was Governor Whitmer and Governor Newsom and Governor Ducey and Governor Cuomo.
And the massive jumps in suicide rates, which we've already seen and we're going to keep seeing, they're not from a sickness. They're from the dictatorial decrees from Governor Wolf and Governor Murphy and Governor DeSantis and dozens more.
When the media blames the dramatic increases in depression and alcohol abuse and overdose on coronavirus, don't let that slide. It was government.
And when the full scale of this damage that they have done becomes too obvious for anyone to ignore, you remember who did this. You remember who forced this on us.
And that is the problem. When those in power get it wrong, whether they have some devious self-serving agenda or they're just incompetent, either way, they use their supposed authority to force you to do the wrong thing. We're not talking about the pointless, wishy-washy political circus where everyone bickers over which opportunistic crook is going to be on the throne next. You either own yourself, and no one has the right to treat you this way, or to control you this way, or you are a slave. Arguing over whose slave you want to be is never going to make you free.
And if these megalomaniac crooks and their mindless enforcers keep treating you like this and you let them get away with it and you just quietly comply and obey, then expect things to keep getting worse. But if that's not good enough for you, it's time to disobey and resist.
Also, if you want to understand why government always ends up going in this direction, why freedom always tends to shrink, and why authoritarian control always tends to grow, and how to make that stop happening, then read this guy's book, The Most Dangerous Superstition, which you can find on Amazon.
Yeah.
Already in the US, they've essentially printed up about $10 trillion. As I showed yesterday, and I'll put the chart up again today, the total US money supply, the Federal Reserve money supply, has increased by 30% overnight. That would be like Bitcoin all of a sudden coming out and saying, yeah, we're going to print up another 30% of Bitcoins, just a few of us here, and we're going to give it out to our friends. That's exactly what they're doing. And now, what a surprise, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi unveiled a more than $3 trillion coronavirus aid package Tuesday, a sweeping effort with $1 trillion for states and cities, hazard pay for essential workers, and a new round of cash payments to individuals. The House is expected to vote on the package as soon as on Friday. But Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has said there's no urgency. The Senate will wait until after Memorial Day to consider options. Pelosi says, we must think big for the people now. Not acting is the most expensive course. So that's another $3 trillion. The US is going to be very quickly into hyperinflation. And notice what's going on here. The government is, every government in the world almost, is making this 1,000 times worse than anything from any virus could ever do. And what they're doing is printing up tons and tons of money and mostly giving it to all their friends. Even this $3 trillion is another $1,200 check in there for Americans. That's about $300 billion, about 10% of the total stimulus. The rest all just goes to crony capitalists and making the government bigger and bigger. For a problem that was caused by the government is going to fix the problem by having more government and more money printing. I think anyone with a brain can kind of see this isn't going to work out. The only way for anything to recover at this point is for the government to get completely out of the way and people to get back to work. But they're not allowing that. They're basically turning the entire world almost into a welfare state. This is going to end very, very badly for most people. And Max Egan on the Crow House, actually, on his video yesterday, someone sent him a letter from the state of California, essentially saying, well, I'll let Max explain it, because he explains it really well.
As a participant in state-assisted benefits, including cash aid, CalFresh, and MedCal, in accordance with the State of California emergency order numbers, blah, 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 you are being informed that COVID-19 testing is declared mandatory for all members of your household receiving assistance. You may receive the test free of charge at any of the participating sites in Macrae County, California. Please refer to the attached pamphlet. For testing sites and information related to COVID-19 testing, appointments are required for testing. You can register online at this address or by calling this number. Tests will be performed Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Failure to obtain a test by June 1st, 2020 will result in the temporary suspension of your benefits beginning July 1st, 2020 and continue until such time that testing has been completed. In addition, should you test positive for COVID-19 and in compliance with the State of California Welfare and Institution Code, the Human Services Agency of Merced County may deem it necessary to remove all the children under 18 years of age from your household who have tested negative and place them in temporary foster care until such time as you have been determined to be recovered. Think about that, folks.
So now, the government has basically forced most people in the US onto government subsidies, basically impoverished them and turned them into welfare people. And now, very quickly, they're saying, if you want to keep getting those checks from the government, you need to get a test. And as we've seen, the test means nothing. It seems incredibly random. But we're talking about millions of people here. Let's just say it's 10 million people. And let's just say the average the positive test from the thing is 10 or 20%. Let's just say it's 20%. That's 2 million people who they'll say have COVID. And then what they're saying is that if you have COVID, the government's going to come to your house and take away your kids and put them into foster homes. So we're talking about 2 million people. Let's just say that's 20%. Well, let's make the math easy. 20%, I guess. 20% have kids. So that's about 400,000 kids. Or no, 40,000? It's a lot. I went to the government indoctrination camps, so I'm not good with the math. But it's a lot of kids. Where are all these kids going to be going? Is there hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of homes ready for foster kids? And how many of those people who signed up for that are actually just child molesters? I would guess quite a few. So there's nothing going on. People have been impoverished, bankrupted, lost their jobs. They go onto a government subsidy, and then they're forced to take a test. And if the test, unluckily for them, turns out positive, even though they'll feel fine, their kids are fine, everyone's fine, they're going to come and take your kids away and give them to other people. And a lot of this is only possible because so many people are so disconnected from real life, not this life. You see, at the higher levels, these government people know exactly what they're doing. They're incredibly evil. They're incredibly satanic. They're psychopathic and sociopathic. And they're trying to just screw up the world as much as possible, based on a completely false premise, which most people wouldn't have fallen for if they had been paying attention, if they'd been doing the work on themselves. But too many people got too comfortable and let all these evil people just run rampant. You even have in California now, the government, while all these people are just destitute, they're bankrupt, they lost their jobs, the government is handing out free alcohol and drugs to homeless people and commandeering hotels and giving them free hotels.
As you know well, because you may be one of them, tens of millions of Americans are now unemployed and running out of money. The rest have to worry about losing their constitutional rights. In fact, many of them are gone. But one group of Americans has no worry at all about getting whatever they want: the homeless. In San Francisco, anyway, officials are putting up the homeless for free in city hotels and supplying them with free alcohol, drugs, and nicotine. Why are they doing this exactly? Joe Alioto is a former San Francisco city supervisor and DA candidate. He joins us tonight. Joe, thanks so much for coming on. I can't think of a clearer signal to taxpayers, citizens, people who try to do the right thing, stay sober, that we just hate you and are spending all of our time on people, you know, who aren't contributing. I mean, honestly, people, I mean, why would they be giving the homeless free stuff? I don't understand.
Well, it's not just that. The worst part about it is that we are taking a very vulnerable population and we're feeding their addictions. And we're not using taxpayer dollars to do that, which begs the question, why is, where is this money coming from? And is the reason why we're not using taxpayer dollars is because it would otherwise not be legal to do. I mean, we know that's true on the federal level anyway. But the idea that the government can poison a few people for the good of the many it's immoral. This has been debated over years. It's unconstitutional. It's very un-American, for that matter, and by federal standards illegal, which probably explains why some of the hotels, as you've read, in the Los Angeles area are refusing to participate in the housing of the homeless.
A lot of these homeless people are so screwed up because they never fixed themselves. They never got connected. So now what are they doing? They're going to give them drugs and alcohol and a free party at a hotel to make sure that's even worse. But the government people love this stuff. They're just destroying so many people and just screwing everything up. And even worse than that, turning the whole world into a police state. In Singapore, They've got these little government robots running around.
Let's keep Singapore healthy. For your own safety and for those around you, please stand at least 1 meter apart. Thank you.
I don't know about you, but if I saw one of those, I'd definitely kick it over. But welcome to your new normal. And they are right on one thing. There's no going back to the way things were before. At the very least, even if everyone in the world woke up today, oh, you like it in the shade, Lucy?
Yeah, it's a little hot, Can wait under the shade here a little bit.
Even if everyone in the world woke up today and realized what's going on and just got rid of governments and started restarting things, the economic ramifications of what have happened will not go away quickly or easily. So even if they did go away, there would not be a return to normal. Most companies now are going to be bankrupt. Most small businesses, most people. A lot of those jobs lost will never come back. But what you can do is make your new normal a lot better by working on yourself. Just get rid of all the old ideas. Having a job for life at some bank with a pension and then relaxing on the beach. Life isn't meant to be easy. You're supposed to learn and actually fight, essentially, but it's not like a physical fight. It's more of fighting spiritually or consciously to repair all of the things in your head which collectively cause a lot of these problems. And just get out in your communities and do things to wake people up. Here's a guy who was in Sacramento, California. I thought that was pretty good. He actually was talking just very about ethics and morals and doing the right thing to a bunch of riot police cops. And I don't know if he totally made them go away, but it looks like he made them walk away from where they were because of what he was saying. Oh, that's another thing. This German Shepherd reminds me of something. If you're ever going to go to a protest, everyone should just bring their German Shepherds. The cops aren't going to come near you. Imagine about 1,000 people with 1,000 German Shepherds protesting. But this guy was just saying, well, I'll let him say what he said.
It's time to stand up for my country. Because I took an oath of office and it said I will defend all enemies, foreign and domestic. Yeah. You know, you might lose your job, but I'd rather lose my job than lose my soul. Amen. I'd rather lose my job than lose my soul. Because what are you going to go tell your little boy or your little girl tonight? That you took a baton and you crushed somebody's skull that was a mom? Is that what a tough guy does? That's not what honor, courage, and commitment means in the Marine Corps. So the question is, do you say, you know, we always have in the military, we have what's a lawful order? And you got to check your nutsack when you're given an order and you got to say, is this a lawful order or is this a bullshit order? And when something's a bullshit order and it doesn't pass the sniff test, that's when you say sergeant, that's when you say colonel, that's when you say general, that's when you say governor. I'm not doing that. I didn't sign up for that. It's not constitutional. I talked to my master sergeant that I haven't talked to in about 10 years yesterday. And this guy was an 0311. Okay, he did 2 tours in Desert Steel, Desert Storm. All right? And this is one of the most ethical guys that I've ever met in my life. And if he was a law enforcement officer, he wouldn't be standing up with a baton in his hand right now. He'd be standing up to the people that were telling him to stand up with a baton in his hand right now. Amen.
They can all call in sick at the next rally. They can all call in sick.
What would it look like if you guys all called in sick the next time they try to get you to do this? The order that attorneys, now we're getting 6 feet of distance, baby. this to the street, but I'm going to call it a win anyways. I'm going to call it a win anyways. USA! 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 USA!
So we could use a lot more stuff like that. Now that guy was a little bit wrong on a lot of things. He thinks Trump's good or something, and he also thinks the military are kind of like ethical, moral people. He referred to one of his commanders as one of the most honorable people he've ever met. But that guy has gone to other countries to fight banker wars while selling his soul and accepting money for it to kill people who never did anything to him. So he's still very confused. This is normally the case, but that's all part of what I'm talking about. We have to help people to wake up. And one of the ways, as I said, is we made up a flyer, and you can just hand it out to whoever, and it'll start to wake them up. You can just get it at dollarvigilante.com/flyer. And it leads them to our ebook, which is giving people information on what's going on, trying to wake them up. You can even read the ebook yourself. It's all free at dollarvigilante.com/COVID. And if not enough people wake up, this is basically our new normal. The Korean Baseball League decided to reopen without fans. And here's a kid throwing out the first pitch. He's in a bubble.
The start of baseball season in South Korea looked a little different due to coronavirus. 9-year-old Lee Rayon kicked things off for the Korean baseball organization's opening game with a socially distant first pitch. But rather than throwing the ball from the mound, the boy walked towards the catcher in a giant clear balloon. The ceremony marked the Baseball League's start after a 5-week delay due to the pandemic. No fans were allowed in the stadium while referees and coaches wore masks.
And apparently here's our new normal at airports. So yeah, if you want to travel now, you got to get not only radiated by the machines, you also got to get sprayed down by things that are probably very toxic. And even at the Dubai airport, they've really put in the social distancing by limiting car parking. Yeah, they're blocking every second car park, as though if you park your car too close to anyone, you're going to get the COVID. This is truly unbelievable what's going on. I can't believe that people are putting up with this or even believe that it's necessary. And that's all because they're completely lost. And of course, one of the things I talk about is about fixing this world is getting rid of all these old systems like the monetary system with central banking and getting into things like cryptocurrency. And very interesting that well, when Bitcoin first launched in 2009, it actually, in the actual code, it referred to a bank bailout by the Chancellor of the UK. It was actually written into the code. That was the first block ever written into Bitcoin. And what it was basically saying is, this system's going down, here's our new system. And 2 days ago was the halving, or the halvening of Bitcoin. So in the last block of the halvening, before Bitcoin halved, so the block reward is now half of what it used to be. Included in the code about the, I think it was $2.3 trillion stimulus bill. Very apropos. So cryptocurrency is a part of the way that we can fix this world. But way more important than that is fixing yourself first, and then fixing your community around you, your family, your community, and getting a lot more connected. That's the only way. But crypto is a great way to take away a lot of their power. And I should mention that There's a great show called Bitcoin and Friends. It's a cartoon. I think they're on episode 5, 6 or something. And I got a bit of a role in the last one.
This very instant, the CVE 10205139 bug is coursing through our veins.
What's this? No, that's not right. But looks like the nodes just approved an update to the protocol. This is conflabbing. This is a nightmare.
Hang in there, B.
Dot the T, dot the I, double the X, dot squared, the root pot. Oh, this protocol should have never been updated. Look at these nodes. They're just doing their own thing. Oh, goodness gracious me.
Is there a bug in his code?
It's not just any type of bug. It's a CVE bug.
Man, what in the heck is a CVE bug?
Common vulnerabilities and exposures. This one is particularly nasty. It's an inflation bug.
Oh, snap, crackle pop.
Take cover!
Guys,
yes?
I need to escort you out of here.
I'm a little busy here at the moment.
Hey, man, are you the YouTube guy?
The Dollar Vigilante?
One and the same.
Man, snap, crackle pop. I've been watching your show for years. What the hell are you doing here?
I'm doing some undercover work on my channel. It's a long story. Listen, the cops are coming to bust this joint.
We can't leave. Bitcoin's network is in critical condition. I have to fix it.
Listen, kid, there isn't gonna be a network if we fall into their hands.
Okay, Metallic, think. You got this.
Hurry up, Metallic. We can't take this much longer.
I'm fixing it.
You and I both know this port can't handle this.
I'm fixing it. I'm fixing it. The code almost fixed it. Kevin! I fixed it.
What's going on up there?
So if you haven't seen that and you're into crypto, you have to see that show. I'll put a link to that episode down below. But if you haven't seen the prior episodes, check them all out. It's one of the best shows around. And we know that the people who are doing a lot of these things, Bill Gates and Soros and the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, all these people, they're very satanic. And what they've done, well, we've seen these rituals over and over the years. Remember the CERN ritual? This had most of the biggest political people in the world come to watch this. And it was only a few years ago that the Temple of Baal, which the most dangerous terrorist organization in the world, the US military, went in and stole out of Syria, was shown off at major cities like London across the world. And this is along the lines of all their satanic type stuff. And not to mention, here's just from a few days ago, Belinda Gates was on the television programming talking about how we have to lock everyone in their houses even longer. And what was she wearing on her chest? An upside down cross. So these people are very satanic, and they really believe that they want to destroy the world. They want to destroy everyone in it. And it's really up to a lot of us to spiritually or consciously rise up against it. No matter what you believe. If you don't believe there is a Satan and demons and stuff like that, there is evil in this world, whether it is that or whether it's created by our own minds, whatever it is. And really the only solution is to fix yourself and get connected yourself to whatever you want to call it. That is really the only solution. That's the only way out of this. So I highly advise that people do that. And do lots of acts of kindness as well. The world needs a lot more of that. So if you've got some extra food or extra money, and there's people who are really in terrible situation around you, get out there and help them out. If a lot of people did stuff like that, we could really help change the world. And of course, I'd like to thank everyone who's donated to the Acapulco Food Raise Fund. We've raised over $5,000 already. And I think I have just some of the receipts. If I do, I'm going to throw them up here. And I think they sent some photos. I didn't hand it out myself because I'm not in Acapulco. But just to show you some of the things that we're doing, because a lot of those people are really hurt. A lot of those people are just living off of the tourist industry and maybe $10 a day, and now they're living on nothing. So if you'd like to donate to that, you still can at dollarvigilante.com/ACA. And for the men out there especially, drop the word safety from your vocabulary. It's actually made me sick for years. I've never really said it to anyone, but when someone says goodbye to you, whatever, they'll go, take good care, or be safe. Well, the world isn't a safe place. And we're not here. Lucy's not scared. Actually, I'm a little bit, but I'll be okay. Us men aren't here to live in safety. There's another Bible quote about that. Forget what the actual quote is. Was it the Bible or was it someone else? Well, I know that there was a person who said a few hundred years ago that if you give up freedom for security, you'll have neither, and you don't deserve security. Men should not have the word safety in their vocabulary. And it kind of made me sick every time someone said it to me. And sometimes I'd respond, I'm not trying to be safe. And this has actually been put into society over decades, trying to make everyone desire safety. I think it was in the Bible, though. What did it say about safety? Oh yeah, it was in the apocalypse part. I'm rereading a lot of it right now, for obvious reasons. It says something about when they say safety, the entire world will descend into something, horribleness or hell or something. It's totally true. And I don't know how many guys, when I say something like, they know I live in Mexico, and they'll come up to me at an event, and they'll say, hey, I just want to ask you if it's safe. Oh, we got a cute little dog here. Was that a Pomeranian? Oh, you're so cute. You're so cute. Hola. And they'll say things like, is it safe in Mexico? And I rarely told them to their face that I think that's so unbelievable they think that way. But it really is. No man should ever be asking what's safe. All men, and if this was the case, this world would be much better, should always just be saying, I'll do what's right no matter what the consequences are. And by the way, on that, that's what that cop said who got fired. And I saw in the comments a lot of people say that cop might be a psyop. He could be, I don't know. There's tons of psyop type stuff out there. But I do agree with what he said. And it's not about being safe. If men out there in the world are just trying to be safe, we're going to live in basically what we're living in right now, but even worse. Men should be doing the right thing, no matter what the consequences. So that woman in Australia, if I was there, there's no way I wouldn't be just rolling into them like a bowling ball. And as they're all on the ground, try to keep a few of them on the ground, and I would have told that woman to run, and I would have tried to defend myself against those guys and try to get away myself. It'd be pretty hard with like 10 guys with guns, but it wouldn't have been even a thought. That's what all men, that we can't have a decent world with men who are worried about their safety. We're seeing the repercussions of it now. So what can you do, right? Well, if you've been thinking about safety, Stop it. And if you haven't been working on yourself, getting connected in whatever form you can, start now. Because these demons are running amok. And they are because there's hardly any men left in the world who do the right thing. And because most people want safety over freedom. And because most people have lost their connection to whatever you want to call it. God, the universe, the divine, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. So the answers to everything in the world today is people doing the opposite of that. Men starting to do the right thing no matter what. People stop worrying about their safety. You're about to get all the safety you want, just like you do in prison. And if enough people start to work on themselves and start to go to the divine, to God, to the creator, whatever you want to call it. There's 1,000 different names for it. They're all kind of right. That will change the vibrational frequency of this earth, and we will actually see major changes. But if we don't, get ready. It's going to be wild and crazy. And we've got all the information for you on how to survive and prosper through all this. This is what we do. And you can sign up to our newsletter at dollarvigilante.com/subscribe. But I would prefer everyone else just did what I just said, and then we don't need a lot of this stuff. We will have a much better world. But it's, as always, up to you.
Yeah, it's up to you. We wouldn't have any tacos without you either. I think you're doing the right thing by giving me tacos. Let's go see Bruce. Oh, there's Bruce. How you doing, Bruce? Yeah. What do you think, Bruce? Bruce always does the right thing. You ever notice that with dogs? They always try to protect you no matter what. I have 2 Chihuahuas here. They will fight anybody. They don't care because it's the right thing to do. And that's what we need a lot more people to do. And like I said, if we don't, get ready. It's going to be crazy times ahead. Stay tuned.